Hello and welcome to the program Hot Button. Dress sense is one very important factor in every human being's life because by the time you are meeting someone along the road, you're addressed by the way you are dressed. People form their impressions and make their judgments based on your appearance. And every parent wants to be sure that his or her child is properly dressed so the child could be resultantly properly addressed. My name is Johnny, and with me on the program today are
Helen Hadikoya.
And
Femi Akintayo.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Good. It's a pleasure to have parents here. Anytime I meet parents, I'm usually very, very much excited.
Thank you.
It's like sitting among my mother and then my father. All right. We want to look at dress sense. A lot of times we have, seen and then concluded about some people based on how they appear. Their dress sense is usually, it usually comes off as something that sends a particular signal to our senses.
By looking at their dressing, you can get an idea of the kind of person they are.
I wouldn't want my partner to dress in a way that doesn't command respect.
Compliments actually plays a role
Yes.
in the way someone dresses.
I don't want my partner to dress with this attitude of, I don't care.
Now, what brings about indecent dressing among young people?
Well, in my own opinion, young people generally are in their formative years.
Okay.
And at that stage in life, they are gradually becoming conscious of their fashion sense, and most of the times they are also influenced by peer pressure and the need to belong. So most of the times, the good, the bad, and the ugly dress sense creep into their lifestyle, and then sometimes your beliefs, your parental guidance, and your upbringing sometimes modify to a large extent, what you will eventually adopt as a proper way of dressing.
Okay, let me hear from you, sir.
Yeah, I think like she said, indecent dressing, I would say largely stems from the people you have around you. And people you have around you would have to do with either your parents from home, the environment at home, or the people you relate with outside.
Okay.
And as she pointed out, the idea of wanting to be like. And you see, wanting to be like is it's a normal thing for youngsters, young kids, because we all were once young. Without our knowing, we subconsciously pattern our mode of thinking, acting, dressing, talking after people that we appreciate. So the environment, the people you have around you can foster, can make grow in you that idea of, I want to dress in a particular way, irrespective of whether it is considered indecent or decent.
Okay. So from what you have just said now, it seems to be like this thing just doesn't come on young people. It stems from somewhere. It could be the way your parents dress, the way your brothers and sisters dress, and then you could just pick it up, which means parents must be on their alert to see how, what kind of dress sense they are passing on to their children. Wow. That being said, what roles do parents play in their children's dress sense?
I think the first role a parent should play is to try to be who they want their children to be. Charity begins at home. I'm very sure if I look at myself now, I want my child, my son or my daughter, to have something similar to what I am now, to be something similar to what I am now in way of dressing. I don't want a deviant.
Okay.
And I have to lead by example.
Okay.
Again, I think it is imperative for parents to also as much as possible, try to know their children's friends and also be friendly with them.
Okay.
When you are friendly with them, if there's something about their dressing you don't like, you create that friendly environment where you can talk to them and in a playful manner, just tell them what not to do,
Okay.
what not to wear,
What not to wear.
you know.
Okay.
And again, it is not out of place. This may be old-fashioned. I remember as an undergraduate, my mother will search through my stuffs before I go to school.
Wow.
Things
Okay.
that are not
Considered
considered
modest.
good
Okay.
in her judgment, she would remove and seize. So what I'm not allowed to do at home, I'm not expected to do when my parents are not there. And in those days, you know, there's no telecommunication, no GSM, nothing. You know, the kind of parentage we had, you know, your parents can decide to come visit you at any time without even giving you prior notice that they'll come. So you don't want them to catch you unawares wearing something indecent. So, and the way we were raised, you don't have to be indecent to look fashionable. There are different ways of looking presentable without being indecent.
Okay.
So that was
Okay,
the
so,
way we were raised.
Because the media has this kind of influence on people,
Yes.
parents must be on their alert
Yes.
to, you know, what their children watch or what they make their children see on the TV at home. And then they must serve as role models
Yes.
to their children.
Yeah.
And then also watch their friends. So they just stand as a check between the child and the friend. Okay, wow. And then over time, it doesn't have to be so, how do I put it now? It doesn't have to be so militant, but you
Yes.
could actually check from time to time what your children have in their wardrobe.
Yes.
Okay, all right, let me hear from you, sir.
Yeah, I quite agree. And you know, the statement, the saying that it is the mother that gives conscience to a child.
Okay.
This is not trying to say that only women have the role to raise the kids, but it goes for both father and mother.
Okay.
So if you grow with your kids, if you set them on the right path, the role parents would play, it's for a time. But if it is well played, the child at some point would have to decide. Like she said, the mom has said, you can't take this, you can't take this, it's out of what you're taking to school.
Okay.
But some kids will still get to school and buy those things anyway. Or they will still smuggle it out somehow. You know, but even when the child does that, what you have planted in your child's mind, at some point, he or she gets to the point and we ask ourselves the question, do I really need this? I'm good enough even without this. So, and if you're unlucky, the parent now visits because there's no GSM, no text message, they just bump on you and then you are found. Of course, you know what the consequences will be. So parents have a great role.
Okay.
And growing up with your child is, like you said, you watch what they are watching, you are there, be a part of their lives. So by the time you begin to discuss these things, they see it as normal, and then even though they may think we are old-fashioned, but as time goes by, they come around to see that, oh, my father was right after all. Oh, mommy was right after all. Yeah.
Okay, now where you have a child who seems to, you know, be so used to what is considered indecent dressing, and then this child is a little bit stubborn. How should a parent step in and convince that child? This child is stubborn. No, this is how I want to dress. This is what I like. How should parents step in?
A parent should first of be a friendly one. Like you said earlier, you don't approach all issues militantly.
Okay.
And the truth of the matter is that there is a deviant in every one of us.
Okay.
You, as a parent, should have a better understanding of the personality of your child and know the best way to approach them and to also make them understand why they need to do certain things the way you want them to do it.
Okay.
So most of the times it is not, you don't match their deviancy with aggression.
Okay.
You're just
You
going
don't match
to,
it with
yes,
aggression.
yes.
Okay.
You're just going to create a whole lot more problems
Okay.
that could. So I think being friendly with them is very important. And that is why maybe at an early stage, there's a need for us to also educate our children about what proper dressing should be.
Okay.
My own idea may be limited,
Okay.
but my own idea of fashion and good dressing should be guided by societal norms.
Okay.
What is expected of you in your society? I was joking with Dr. Akintayo before we came in. I mean, how would you feel if your child brings home somebody with dreadlocks? No matter how good, how pure the heart of a person is, you'll do a double take. Because there's a way generally we associate, the way we perceive people with such appearance in this society.
Yes.
Are we together, please? So that is one. You may also look at the task. What I have to do sometimes would determine the kind of dress I put on.
Okay.
And then personal comfort and weather.
Okay.
Your income. And so many other factors that I cannot begin to mention here.
Okay.
But most importantly, we should be guided by societal norms. And when we talk about society, there are so many aspects that we may need to consider: your religion, your cultural. Our culture is also important.
Okay.
How do people perceive you when you dress in certain ways?
Okay.
So
all these things must be
Yeah.
instilled in the child.
in the child from
So-
the onset, so that
Okay.
they grow into it.
All right.
And when they are about to derail, you can actually softly,
Softly.
in a
Okay.
friendly manner, remind them
back.
of those things.
And in your words,
Perception,
in your words,
matters.
do not match deviancy with what?
Aggression.
Good. Let's hear from you, sir.
Yeah, I think there will be no need actually to match deviancy with aggression if from the onset, like she said, you have actually been in the life of those kids. So when you begin to talk about these things, you see that when you grow with your child, there comes a time you can always say, you see the things we used to talk about? Did you see how so person? Because at the end of the day, if you grow up with your kids and you help them to, so when I'm dressed in the morning and I'm about stepping out, I ask my daughter, how do I look? I think I look good. Oh, I think I'm in need of I need to shave. I need a haircut. My shoe looks grotesque. And everybody laughs. Those are lines from a movie we watched together. And then, but gradually, they have learned, they grew up knowing that I get them to see. And if any one of them says, this color is not, why don't you wear this? I go back inside to change. So you've handed them some sense of you can determine what is right. And without saying much, you have passed on a message that they begin to see what it means to look good. It might not be exactly how they want to dress. It might not be the way they want to wear their belts or the way they want to make their hair, but at least they know that there's something called decency.
Okay.
And you can't instill this when a child psychologists will say anything you have, any values you've not put into a child before age 12, forget about it.
Wow.
So a child is deviant at maybe 16, 17, 18 in the university, and you are trying to, you dare not match it with aggression, you will lose the child. So it's better you do that job from growing up. There is the tendency to want to be like their folks, their friends, but with time, with constant talking, prayer, like she said, plenty of prayers, because we all grew up, we know what we were taught, and we know the things, we know the times that we strayed. Sometimes we look back and we say, oh, thank goodness I came back before it was too late. And sometimes our parents didn't even know. So because we passed through that, you want to guide your kids and prepare them in such a way that they'll be able to make judgments at some point in life, and they also will be able to say, do I really need to be like this?
Okay.
So, I mean, a child said to the father, hey dad, I got my ears pierced, son of a pastor. And the father simply said, congratulations. And he said, you won't say anything more than that? And he said, well, yeah, if everything we talked about so far, you get to this stage and you feel like that's what you want to do, it's okay. But then and that went on for like 3 months, but he said he kept praying, he kept praying, he kept praying. And one day, people had been talking with this son, was in the US, and at some point, the child just decided to remove the earrings. And he said, Dad, guess what? I removed the rings. And he said, welcome home. So without saying much, without fight, without the aggression, you could win because the child has a conscience. Yeah, if you hand it over to him from the onset, it will guide the child at some point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great one, great one, great one. Now, we are looking at tying all this to relationship. There are so many people who have lost relationship because they have considered the way this person who approached me is dressed is not the kind of person I'm looking for. You dress this way, you dress that, therefore I don't want to see you. And then there are times where young people take their, maybe boyfriend or girlfriend home, and then the parents are like, no, 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 just by dressing. Now, would you assess maybe your daughter or your son's girlfriend or boyfriend based on how the person is dressed? Let's hear from you, sir.
I tell you what, sincerely, even if I don't want to, I am likely to. Because you see, the way we're all wired, the way we're brought up. I grew up in a home where when you are called, you don't say, sir, ma. It was considered a master-servant relationship kind of. So yes, please. Every time you say that, we got ourselves in line by so doing. And I had uncles who would say, where did you find those kind of friends that were ill-dressed? And these were girls that we considered the best in our time. And he just said, don't you know those kind of people will determine your taste in life? And I found myself gravitating towards thinking like that. And so, you see, I grew up, my father would tell me, he told us, you don't marry a woman you don't date a lady who is taller than you. And I said, why? He said, because if you go for a dance, she will cast shadow on you. And that stuck with me. So, because I had parents who could discuss issues with me, I find myself discussing issues with my kids. And I have them all girls, and we talk a lot, we share. So if you come home with somebody who is not well dressed, I'm likely to say, a lot of time my daughter will say, BFM, you don't say that about somebody. So, well, he's not well dressed. The dress looks ugly. If it is not good, it is not good. So I find myself doing that. It might not be the very best. I have not imposed anything on them, but they know that you cannot bring somebody who is, like she said, maybe dreadlocks. The first appearance, the first impression is,
especially in this
in
part
the
of the
society,
world.
the culture that we all belong to, like she said. So, yeah, it's possible that parents would have to say one or two things, and then hopefully you hope and pray that the child is able to see what you are saying and then can also pass the message. And she made a very important point at the onset. Be friends, not just with your kids, but with their friends. So that at some point you can also let them know what is right and what is not okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear from you. Would you, assess maybe your son's girlfriend or your daughter's boyfriend based on the way the person is dressed?
You see, I may deviate a little bit from the belief that we should not judge a book by its cover.
Okay.
In this case, I'm going to judge the book by its cover.
Okay.
So it had better come in a good package. No matter how beautiful the heart of whoever my child is bringing ease, no matter how beautiful heart he or she has, the outward appearance matters in this instance. And I have a very wild imagination when, you know, I think about issues like this. I can't imagine my daughter coming home with somebody who has dreadlocks and tattoos all over his body. I'm not saying it is wrong, but in my own perception, I don't think it is acceptable. And like I said, my daughter should have known me by the kind of interaction we have heard over the years, the kind of atmosphere we have instinctively. Our children should know what we want and what is acceptable in our society. I mean, even if you interact with a person and it is okay. I mean, well, not so much. I'm not saying that that should be the case, but then what about the perception of other people? What about the perception of where we worship? People just, in this part of the world, so to say, and that is why we cannot overrule the importance of culture in our general outlook. We like casting aspersion, and that is why it is always better for the book to come with a good cover in this instance. Imagine I've accepted this young man and I take him to where I worship. Before people can even interact with him, they've already passed judgment. So I always would prefer to advise people to dress correctly, decently, so that, you see, first impression matters a lot. And
your dressing
sometimes,
can actually give
yes, that's the first thing people say about you. And you know, some people may not even be patient, or the opportunity may not even be presented where you are given the chance to interact so that they know the real person inside. But you're already judged.
First impression.
Yes, you're already judged by what they perceive you to be through your appearance. So I think in situation of relationship, I know a lot of mothers will be shocked if their son or their daughters bring somebody who, in our cultural context, will be considered as a deviant by the way they look. And
like
let me share. Yes, you can. You know, let me share an experience with you. I used to have this friend way back at the University of Ibadan, a very kind-hearted, homely girl. She actually lost her first relationship because of the way she was dressed to visit her parents-in-law to be. And she came back crying in the room. We were just like, did you receive any bad news from home? And she told us what the boyfriend's parents...
They didn't approve of her dressing.
And they actually confronted her.
Right there.
They didn't take aside their son to say, you cannot marry this kind of... They faced her and told her, you are not welcomed anymore in this household.
So that could also be a disadvantage of indecent dressing. Wow. Okay, let's wrap it up very quickly. Now, having seen all these things, what would you do to help your son, your daughter dress modestly? How do you come in this case?
Let's say, like you said, you want to change the world, be that change. If you pattern and model yourself in such a way that your kids can also come after you, it is almost instinctive that they will also be like that. But if you are the anyhow kind of dressing father, you can go out wearing the bathroom, the flip-flops. I mean, you want to go, you're dressed, you're going to the office, and then you get into the car before you remember. I mean, those are examples we think kids do not see. They see much more than we would ever want to believe. And there are so many messages with signals we send out by the way we talk, by the things we do, the way we dress. So if you dress anyhow, your kids will end up dressing anyhow. If you dress very well, at some point you can also talk with your kids and say, be like me. You know, not in a judgmental way, but we talk and joke and say, be like me, man. Can't you see your father? I say that to my daughters. I say, oh, Bifemi, you're looking at me. I say, yeah, I'm your father. I was stunned when I saw it. Oh, yeah, you know me. You know, we talk about all those things and we joke about it, and naturally they know how to match their colors. They know what fits. They know what does not, what will not fit.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, please, very quickly, how would you come in to help your child to dress very well?
Yeah,
Appropriately, actually.
it starts from the very beginning.
Okay.
You groom your child by presenting yourself as a worthy example
Okay.
that they are proud to emulate. Even if that tendency arises when they want to go off cue, I mean, except we are denying it. You see, our childhood matters a lot.
Okay.
And most of the times, I tell you, most of the things we do, most of the decisions we make, most of the judgments we even make
Okay.
are highly influenced by those values that have been dropped into us right from childhood.
Okay.
So it begins from the very start.
It begins from the very start.
And I always tell friends that are close to us, there will be influences from outside, peers, because no man is an island. They cannot, you know, part of socialization is leaving the family front and then going out to mix with other people.
Okay.
But that consciousness will always guide them back to what is right, and what is decent.
All right, thank you so much. From all I've gathered here, you need to nurture them right from the very beginning. And if you get it wrong from there, you may never get it right with them. And you must be an example to your children. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the program today. That's the much we can take on Hot Button today, believing that you've learned so much from what we've brought to you today. 1 John chapter 2, verse 15 says, you can be in the world, but not of the world. If you are in the world, the love of the Father is not in you. So, the world is going to throw a lot of things at us, dress sense and every other thing. And these days, people are encouraging their male children to dress as female and then female to dress as male. Choosing personality, letting these children choose their own personality from a very infant age. But we are Christians and we must know the right thing to do. Dressing communicates a lot. So if you want to be seen as who you truly are, dress in the way you are. That's the much we can take. We believe you join us same time next week. God bless you.